Hello, everybody. This is Mike
and Beth,
and we are back with episode 3 of the Hey, Are You Still There podcast. So, welcome everyone who's hung in there for the first 2 episodes. Beth, how are you feeling after 2 episodes?
I think we're on the track to monetizing this thing. I mean, the followers is just exploding, and yeah, I think that there's a good chance that we'll be able to fund everything we need and quit our jobs probably in a few weeks based on all of this.
Yeah, we just, I did look into that, speaking of monetizing. We need 2,000 monthly listeners.
Right.
So we're up to 70 now.
Oh, I thought we were still at 30.
No,
oh,
we
okay.
exploded.
Oh,
so we
okay.
had
Yeah.
70. And so, what was that? We just need 1,930 more.
So that's not much. I think that we can easily, and then we'll probably get paid what? I don't know, like 50 cents a month or something. Is that kind of how it'll go?
Yeah. We'll have some good ads.
So are we really doing this for the fame? Is that what it is? The fame and notoriety, not the money?
I mean, you are infamous.
Yeah.
I don't know about famous.
Yes.
But,
yeah.
I'm famous because I'm going to be in a commercial, but we'll talk about that later.
But you can't talk about it in detail.
No, I can't talk about it in detail. I can't
Okay.
talk. But what I can talk about in detail are the results of last week's poll question.
Oh.
For those of you who were with us last week, you heard the great discussion in our marriage portion of the podcast. As we discussed Christmas, when is the appropriate time to decorate? So I've got some comments here, and also I put up a poll. I didn't know you could do this, but you could actually put a poll on Spotify, and people could check what they agree with. And so the poll was simple. It was a question: do you decorate before or after Thanksgiving? And so I'll tell you those results here in a second. But here's some of the comments. I don't believe you've heard any of these, Beth. Again, I like to spring them on you. Jerry says, "Sorry, Mike. I agree with Beth on the
Jerry.
Christmas decorating."
Yes.
I'm not surprised. Jerry sounds old. And I would think that you probably do have the senior vote in that. Jason says the day after Thanksgiving.
What does he know?
Charles says after Thanksgiving, specifically the Saturday after Thanksgiving. And then Charles goes on to say, you need to get a real tree. That'll take care of it.
Okay, we have had a real tree before, and I am all for a real tree at times, but we won't get into that discussion right now.
I don't know what Charles means by that'll take care of it. Like, I picture Charles as this, like, rugged outdoorsman that's going to go Clark Griswold and
pull it out.
Pull it out by the root ball.
And everything.
Yeah. Gosh, that guy. Madeline Kate, this is her second week of commenting. She just gave us a thumbs up. So I don't know what that means.
What? Okay.
She's like, hey, let's just decorate.
Yeah.
She don't care. Mrs. Hinton, she commented again. She said, I celebrate Thanksgiving with Christmas decorations. My tree has been up, but still not decorated. If I didn't have school, I would have had stuff on it November 1st.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. And this is what I'm talking about, that marriage of Thanksgiving and Christmas, where you can even hold back a few Christmas decorations and still honor Thanksgiving, which is what I'm doing in there. I've got like some of those pumpkins and fall decor, but I just want that tree up beside it, because the tree is the big thing that takes a lot of effort, but also is magical with the lights. So I want to prolong the exposure to the tree. So this is sort of like, it's an easing into Christmas decorating.
It's not easing in enough. All right, last comment, Melissa. I completely understand the Christmas decoration debate. As Christmas tree growers, we have an expert.
Oh.
Sometimes our tree waits until after Thanksgiving.
But that's, okay, but that's like if you work in a restaurant.
But if I had my choice, it would go up much quicker.
That's what I'm talking about. Because for them, it's necessity. It's not a choice. We're talking about when you have the luxury of choice.
All right. I'm going to point out a theme. All the chicks think you decorate as early as you can.
Yes.
The men are like rational, and they're like, it doesn't make sense. Let's just wait until after Thanksgiving.
No, it's not that the men are rational.
This is a man-woman thing.
The men could care less about helping us do it. So y'all are just like, oh, I'm trying to prolong the agony of having to pull out the tree or go get it or put the lights up.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, but we're carrying so much of the load of the rest of the decorating. And like, we just need y'all, as my mom said on Facebook, Mike, Beth works so hard. Just give her the tree. See, that's kind of the way I feel about it. Like, we women, we work so hard. We carry this mental load. We have to do all these things. Like, we have so much responsibility. And it's like, this is one simple thing we're asking for. Can you not just give us this? Just give us this crumb. Just give us this tree.
Let me give you the results of the poll. When would you decorate for Christmas? After Thanksgiving or before? This was unanimous. After Thanksgiving.
You want to know why? Because men are lazy and they just wanted to click a poll, where the women actually took the time to comment.
Listen, if we've realized anything since this past election, it's that polls are 100% correct all the time.
Exactly. Yes, that's it. Yes.
So
always trust the poll. It's going to be accurate. Yeah. Yes.
All right. So I got a new debate for you.
Okay.
This is something Beth and I bicker about. We got into a big fight about it last night. Cats versus dogs.
Oh gosh.
In full transparency, we have 4 indoor pets, 2 dogs and 2 cats. We are an equal pet household. Mm-hmm. Beth gets
except not male to female.
Beth
only.
gets very defensive over one of these pets. What is your take, Beth, on cats versus dogs as pets?
Okay, I grew up having both, so I do not want this to be spun around on me. I don't like it when my words are manipulated and used against me. I actually love both. Okay, I like that cats are independent and not needy. So sometimes it's nice that cats are just kind of like, I could live on my own as long as you put out some food and water, and I would only let you pet me from time to time or whenever I feel like it. I like that cats know what they want and they're not afraid to go after that.
That is not what you say.
I'm saying, time out, you're not letting me finish. I'm just saying I respect that about cats, okay? But with dogs, it's just the fierce loyalty, the love, the devotion. Like my dog, Cam, when I drive up, he wags his tail so hard that his entire backside's going. And sometimes, if I've been gone, there have been times when he'll even pee a little. He's so excited to see me. He just loves me so much. And he looks at me with this adoration in his eyes. And he walks with me.
He talks with me. You're going to get into Jesus now?
No, but he would run. He does all these things. He sits with me. He can tell when I'm sad, and he tries to comfort me. So he's just emotionally tuned in to what I need. And he is also, I would like to point out, as everyone has admitted, an extremely good dog. Smart, well-behaved, an amazing dog. So for that reason, yes, if I had to choose, if I had to be like, okay, Beth, you're going on this trip and you can only take one animal, I am 100% going to take Cam, because he has shown me it's a mutual relationship. With the cats, I don't know, they would eat you if you died or something, probably.
Listen, everything you described about your dog, Cam.
Yes.
Is me.
This is what it comes down to.
No, seriously.
You are jealous of Cam.
I am loyal to you. Yes. I love you. I'm excited when you come home. I've even peed a little. And I don't see you defending me like this.
It's different. You, with Cam, it is just because he loves me. I think you probably have some deeper ulterior motives or whatever when,
Never.
yes.
Never.
Yeah, so it's different. Cam is so innocent and pure.
But we have a second dog, and you're not bragging on that dog. That dog is just as loving as Cam.
Okay, but that dog has some type of something where she licks you all the time. And she is on the scale, she has gone past just love and devotion to neediness. And so she just looks at me all the time, wanting attention. She is like this black hole that would suck all of the love and affection out of me, and it still wouldn't be enough. She just wants you to be petting her on her belly. She's very particular about where she wants to be petted all the time, nonstop. If you're sitting and trying to work or look on your computer or do something and you're having to use your hand to type or something, she's trying to lick you or get under your hand to make you pet her. it's too much. She overwhelms me, and I feel so guilty because I can never give her all the affection she needs, and so it's stressful. She stresses me out.
I'm going to point out something. Just like your description of Cam fits me, I honestly believe your description of Reese, which is the dog you just described, fits you.
Okay, that is the biggest insult. No, I am going to stop
Beth,
this podcast.
Beth,
I am not like that dog.
Our family even calls Reese Little Beth.
Okay, that to get on my nerves.
No, because it's true. Because they both, I think that's why you don't like Reese, is because you both are emotionally needy. You both have to, you will suck all of our... everything we have.
No.
You just absorb it.
Nope.
And you're like a black hole that just sucks all of our energy. That's how you are.
You are so mad at me over this Christmas tree that you're really just turning this around. You're making this fight dirty. And I'm not going to fight like
serious.
this on this podcast.
You described the two dogs perfectly. I could not agree more about the way you described these two dogs.
This is like the biggest insult ever to compare me to that dog. So, I'm not, no, that is not nice, and you know it.
Well, some people are dog people, some are cat people. Beth is a dog person. If it comes down to it, Beth is a dog person.
Yes.
Here's my take on dogs. I like dogs, but most dogs, unless they've been bred to like be defenders, right, of your house, of whatever, most dogs are just happy to see anybody. They just like unconditionally love everybody. Not that I have a problem with that. There's a guy who walks his dog 5 times a day around our church property. And every time I'm outside when this guy's walking his dog, this dog is about to pull this dude down trying to get to me. It doesn't matter. He just sees me and I'm just a human, and he just wants to come. How do you know it's not
your charm and magnetic
because he comes to me, I pet him, and then he's done with me. He just unconditionally just needs like attention, and I feel like that's dogs. I am a cat person. If I had to choose between a dog or a cat as a pet, if I lived by myself, if I wasn't married, if Beth ends up leaving me and I'm just a loner, I'm having a cat. Maybe multiple cats. I love cats. I love watching cats. I like the fact that cats do have, I feel like, their own personality to where they'll love you if they feel like it, but if they're not really in the mood, they're really not going to give you the time of day. That is my spirit animal. As an introvert, that's how I am. Like, when I feel like being social, I'll be social. But there's a lot of times I'm like, you know what? I don't really feel like being around anybody right now. And just leave me alone. And you're the opposite. You're an extrovert.
Yes.
And so you relate to having this dog-like spirit animal where you're just like, I need to be around people. It doesn't matter what people. I just want to be around people so I can, get energized by them. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I thought this was a good debate. And I think this will be a great poll question for this coming week as we look at cats versus dogs. So leave us a comment. We are now on Apple Podcasts, so you can check out Apple Podcasts. We're always on Spotify, which is the home base, mothership of the Hey, Are You Still There podcast land. Leave us a comment. I'll put up another poll question, cat or dog. You're not saying which is better. You're just saying, if I had to choose, if I could only have one pet, this is what I would have. And so if you want to defend it in some way, you can. But I'm just saying, we just want to know dog or cat. Because Beth and I are different in this. And if she could only have one pet, it'd be Cam, right?
Yes, 100,000%.
Cam is your perfect pet.
Yes, he is magnificent, regal, amazing.
Yes.
And I would like to point out that Cam is not even specially bred to be all of these things. We rescued Cam. We don't even know what he is. He is 100% unique. He is like a diamond, like some type of like, when you read about these diamonds that are special because like they're a special color and there's only like one, that's the way Cam is. He was this perfect mixture of these dogs that all came together, and there will never be another him.
Listen, all 4 of our pets are rescue animals.
Yes, they
all
are.
All 4.
Yes.
So we're big into rescuing.
Yes.
And so, yeah. So Cam is a great dog. He is a great dog.
Yes.
I'll always say that. He's smart, maybe the smartest dog we've ever had.
Well behaved.
Well behaved, except for peeing when he sees Beth. But
he only does
who
that outside.
among us doesn't?
Exactly. I mean, yeah.
And, I'm just saying, I would still choose a cat.
Oh gosh. Okay. Whatever.
I would still choose a cat. All right, Beth. Last week we were. I guess I was challenged by our youngest with, Dad, what do you do all day? And we talked about that a little bit, but we know you're an accomplished attorney. You're a professor. You do a lot of stuff, but I don't know what you do all day.
Yeah.
And so I hear you in here. I walk by. You're doing Zoom calls. There's people on screens. I mean, honestly, I don't know what you do. I just know you talk to a lot of people all day long.
Yes.
So go ahead and just lay it out for us. High level, what is your area of expertise in the law? What do you do all day? And how does that change the world?
Okay. Well, what I do all day has changed a lot over time, like from when I started, and especially after COVID. But prior to COVID, when we were in person, you would look at my calendar and I would be in one conference room in one meeting and then running to the next. And now that seems to be more on Zoom. But my area of expertise, most likely, if people had to say one area, would be employment law. The reason I say it like that, though, is I do a lot. I'm in an academic medical center, so also with faculty issues. So some education law, but not so much around student issues as around the employment aspect, and then the faculty appointments and things like that.
So you're what they call in-house.
Yes, I'm an in-house attorney, so I don't work for a law firm. I actually work for the company. So that's what they mean when they say you're an in-house attorney. You work for the company, so you have essentially one client that you advise. But I think a misconception is a lot of people are like, oh, if you work for a hospital system, or even if you worked in an education system, they think you're still in court all the time. Well, the few times I've gone to court, even though my secondary practice would probably be litigation, I'm not actually the one litigating anymore, because when you're in-house, most of the time you don't do that. You're actually the one sitting at the table. You hire the outside attorneys that do that, and there's a whole lot of reasons litigation is time consuming. So what do we do? So people will think if you work for a hospital system, they're like, oh, well, you must just be doing med-mal patient issues all the time. But they don't realize, a hospital is a massive company, So like when you think about all the work there is to do, we have to enter into contracts to buy and sell things. We have sometimes employment contracts. For employment law, we have all the aspects of everything that changes. Like you're hiring somebody. What can you do in the background checks when you're hiring? What questions can you ask at different stages of the hiring process? Once someone's hired and if they're having performance management type issues, how do you performance manage them in a way that's protective to the client, but also helpful to the employee? So in theory, they can check. Okay, stop laughing. I really sometimes we are able to manage employees.
No, you're describing all of this, and I still don't know what you do.
Okay.
This is so in the weeds.
Okay.
I feel like I'm at a law convention.
Okay. So you just want me to tell you in theory, okay, I wake up and then I walk to my computer. The problem is I have to tell you some of this to understand. Okay.
No, okay, I want to know these people that you're on the TV screen with.
Yeah.
Why are they wanting to talk to you? Like, what do you give them?
I give them legal advice.
Like, what's an example? Just make up something.
Okay.
Let
me do it. Okay. So let's say that we have a physician who's also a faculty member. So that means that they have some teaching responsibilities and they practice medicine. And let's say that someone's complained that they have said some things, and maybe even in the complaint, the person says words like it's discriminatory or it's harassment. So what I'll do is I'll work with HR, I'll work with the physician's leader, whoever their supervisor is. We'll talk about what we need to do to investigate. Once we've investigated, interviewed the people, maybe there's video or something we can listen to or some type of emails we can review, and we've collected those. Then I will talk about whether I feel like from a legal perspective, like, let's say the leader is like, I really want to fire this person. Well, we'll talk about, well, what's the risk of terminating this person's employment? Are there other alternatives that are less risky? How do we balance all this? We talk through it. The other things I do outside of just like very specific to somebody like that is, let's say we need training on something so that people can learn how to be in compliance with the law when you're managing employees. I will go do trainings on that or on different areas of the law that have changed. Sometimes people need what's called disability accommodations and things. We talk through the legal analysis, help people help us draft policies and processes, because we're very large and complex. And so we're advising on these things. The problem with my job, though, is that people have this idea of what you do as a lawyer. And I often tell people, I think the work I do is probably more similar to what people who maybe have a business degree or something do. Because, even though I'm advising on the law and there's that legal component, you're not in court. You're not in trial all the time. You're kind of in this middle ground where you're operating like a business person as well, but you're giving legal advice.
All right. And somewhere in all that free time, you're a college professor, correct?
Well, I teach for... Yes, it's a master's studies of law, and we won't say where because I don't know. Just because I don't know what we're supposed to do on this podcast about where we talk about generalities versus whatever. But yes, I teach in this. This is a program for individuals who have a highly their job relies on being able to understand laws and regulations and how the legal system works, but they may not want to go and get a law degree because to get a law degree, you have to go to 4 years of college and then usually 3 years in-person law school. And so this is a program that's online for individuals to have like a high-level understanding of the law and how it impacts their work. So a lot of people...
Do you make your students call you Professor Giannopoulos?
No, I don't. But some of them do, but I don't make them do that. No. I'm very laid back in that respect. But they it's been fun. I like that part because I like teaching, and I think that I like trying to take really complex concepts and try to explain them in a way you can understand it. And I also like that it's generally fulfilling, because you feel like you've done something to help people, to make them better at their job or to help them.
And there's one thing I know you love, and that is a good teacher evaluation.
Oh, yes.
Beth gets her evaluations at the end of every semester, and the first thing she does is email them to me. It says, look at what my students have said about me.
Do you want to know why I do that? Because I want to be like, I get no respect in this household, and even though my kids are in college, sometimes they'll be like, hey, this is happening and I don't know what to do. And I'll be like, well, I actually teach a class, in a university setting. So as a professor, I would say you should go, talk to your professor about this problem. And they roll their eyes like, what would you know about anything? So it's just nice to have someone out there in the world, in the universe, feel like they respect me and that I've taught them something, as opposed to, like here where it's like, what would you know about anything, Mom? I mean, what do you do all day? Yeah. Again, you just sit on a computer screen or whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah, I get you. And, that's a perfect transition and segue to the ministry portion. Talking about respect and feeling loved. We'll go into this story on another podcast, but I am currently assisting a church up in Western North Carolina, kind of, I don't think revitalize is the right word, but they lost their pastor back in the summer.
I like to say reimagine.
That's good. Yeah, reimagined. Yeah. There you go. Their pastor had to step away back during the summer. I have a connection with that church through some friends and filled in. Supply preaching is what they call it. So I preached one time in July, one time in August. And then the deacons of the church, is how they're structured, called and was asking some advice. And I met with them and started consulting, and how that's evolved into interim pastor. And so I'm helping this church out. And so this past Wednesday night, they had a Thanksgiving dinner. And Beth and I went up for the Thanksgiving dinner, and there was just a a spread of food, right? Like it was just so much food. And so we're in line, like they said the blessing, and this nice lady was like, hey, you Beth, go first. And I was like, that is a bad look. Like there is no way the new preacher is going to be first in line getting food. Like no, I've been around long enough. I don't need to do that. So we let others go in front of us, and we're just standing there talking. And then the next thing you know, they stop the line, and they're like, you two get up here and eat. And I was like, no, really, like, we're fine. Like, we'll wait. And they were like, no. They were like, this is a sign of respect. Like, we respect you as our pastor and wife, and we want you to come up here and eat. And I was kind of taken back. And not that I haven't felt love and respect where I've been the last 11 years, because they do love and respect us a lot. But there's a difference in what I would consider the modern church. Yeah. Our church is 11 years old. That we planted, which we've kind of handed off now. But there's a different level of respect and love that is shown versus a church like this that's 143 years old that has that kind of small town country feel. And it was kind of like, it was nice.
Yeah.
Like, it was like really nice. And they are such a loving church. And it was kind of a neat feeling, just a different type of respect and love.
Well, it's kind of like one of my kids' teachers one time. She was like, when I would talk to her, she's like, oh, you're the first lady. And she would talk to me about, instead of just being the pastor's wife, well, as the first lady, are these things happening? And so it's, to your point, I think different, I guess, culturally, or however you want to say the word, the way different churches are, the way they view the pastor and pastor's wife. I think part of it too, though, is style. It's nice to have that, but I think our church is so relational, and we're so trying to be authentic and transparent. So I would say down to earth. It's not like people, it's sort of, it's kind of a balance thing, because people respect you, but they're not going to treat you, like you're, I don't know, elevated or something. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah, and I've always had a hard time, like me personally, I have a hard time taking compliments. I have a hard time receiving any type of title. And so even at this church, I was asked a week or so ago, they were like, what do you want to be called? And I was like, what do you mean? And they were like, well, Pastor Giannopoulos, Reverend, like, what do you want? And I was like, just Mike. Like, just call me Mike. And you could tell they were just like, I don't know about that. You know, like, and like I said, I've just never been somebody that's thrown a title in front of my name, because I do like just to be relational. But it did feel good Wednesday. I ain't gonna lie. It felt good to be like, pampered a little bit. And it's felt good. And so that was really nice. And they say, once you're at a church for a certain amount of time, the church takes on the personality of the pastor.
It's dangerous.
It is dangerous because
out there.
This church that we pastored, for so long here that we started, if I step back, it really does have my personality. They're real. They're authentic. Mm-hmm. They can be sarcastic. Mm-hmm. They can be butthead sometimes, but in a good way, like they're very strong-willed. They know what they want. They're not afraid to
very action-oriented.
They're action-oriented. They're not into the fluff. They're not into, if I walked in on a Sunday and was told that church, all right, from now on, please call me Reverend Giannopoulos, I'd be laughed off the stage. They'd be like, who do you think you are?
Yeah, they'd be like, why would we do that?
So, it is just different.
But they would do it in a loving way. They wouldn't boo you off the stage. Yeah, they would just laugh you off the stage.
That's right. They wouldn't boo me, they would laugh me. They would think, that's a good joke, Mike.
Yeah.
So, So that's ministry for me right now. It was a unique experience this past Wednesday. Just a different type of respect and love. And so that was kind of neat.
Can I say something else about ministry though?
Yeah.
Okay, but the cool thing about ministry, I think, but not the cool thing, it's actually the hard thing. So you do things and you don't know what you're doing generally. Now we know much more what we're doing, but you learn as you go. Just like with parenting, which we'll segue into that too. But you have to figure it out as you go, because that's one of those things, like so many things in life, like no matter how much book learning or education you have, so much of it's relational and your leadership style and all that stuff. But when we were in youth ministry years ago, we started youth ministry when we were 20. Well, when you had your first full-time job, how old? Because we weren't married yet.
22, 23.
Yeah, 22, 23. And we didn't have kids. And neither one of us knew very much about kids. Nothing. Except that we had recently been teenagers ourselves. Therefore, we were authorities on what we felt and knew. And so we were in that youth ministry for like 7 or so years in that full-time church. And we watched a lot of those students grow up. And like now we're on Facebook or Instagram or what have you with a lot of them. And so it's cool because you watch them. It also makes you feel old. They're married. They have their own kids. They're doing all this stuff. But I wanted to say this. One of our former youth was traveling for work in Asia and met another former youth for dinner. And I just thought, well, that is the coolest thing, that you are all the way around the globe and you sought out this person, that you were in youth group with. And I just commented that I loved seeing them together. And that former youth said, "Thanks to you and Mike for giving us an amazing youth fellowship experience. We were lucky to have you lead us, along with the many others at the church that invested their time in the youth." And I just thought that was like the sweetest, most affirming thing, because we didn't know what we were doing. And I think a lot of times people in ministry, as well as other parts of life, are held back because they're like, oh, well, I don't know how to do this, or I'm not an expert yet. But really, we just showed up with those students and loved them and had fun with them and were there for them. And that seemed to be enough. I don't think any of them look back and say, wow, why those two really didn't know what they were doing or anything like that. I think sometimes just the love and the being present are enough. And so I thought that was really cool. But the hard thing about ministry is, okay, that would have been 20 some years ago we did all this, so you don't know. That was late 90s. Yeah, so no one's showing up then and saying, hey, thanks. It really, it takes 20 years. If you ever hear about it, it takes 20 years to know that you did something.
And that was kind of neat. I mean, it was the two youth, now they're adult men, Christopher and Max. They weren't even the same age. No. Like, I think Christopher was probably 3 or 4 years younger than Max. But they were in youth group together. Yeah. And so Christopher was traveling over, I think he was in Hong Kong or somewhere, and Max has lived there a long time. Yeah. And I don't even know what took him there originally, but so it was kind of neat. I thought that was really cool too. And I didn't comment. I hearted, when I saw that picture, because it made me.
But you cried a little inside, I did. Like tears of joy.
Like a proud dad.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, it was good. Another dad moment, I guess proud is the right word, is our home has now been invaded.
Yes.
By film students.
Yes.
So our daughter, Maria, she graduated from high school last year.
No, year before last. Remember? She spent a whole 8 months at Disney.
That was this year.
No, and then she did UNC Wilmington the year before that.
That was last year. When I say last year, I meant 2023.
Okay, anyway.
What year did she graduate high school?
But 2020, well, I guess you're right. It is last year. But okay, keep going. She graduated a semester early, technically.
Mike, you're right.
No, you were not right, because this is a technicality.
No, she graduated in January of 2023.
Well, I guess because the semester technically ended then, but she was not going back to school.
So I am technically right. All right. So Maria graduated in January of 2023 from high school, a semester early. She stayed at home and mooched off us for the next 6 months. Her dream school was UNC School of the Arts, which is, as life would have it, would only be about 20 minutes from our home. It's a top 10 film school in the country, very prestigious. She did not get in.
The first year.
It's her first year. She applied to UNC Wilmington. They have a film school or film program. She got in there. So last fall of 2023, she went to UNC Wilmington, had an amazing semester, loved it.
Made so many friends.
Made so many great friends. It's at the beach. Like, who's not going to love that, right? She's at the beach every day.
Had a fabulous roommate.
Fits,
Shout out to Ella. Yes.
Fits her personality.
Yeah.
Maria's other dream that she had always had was to be in the Disney College Program. And I promise this is all going somewhere. She applied for the Disney College Program and actually got in.
But we didn't think she would, because
right.
only 20% or less get in. So we thought she was just applying to get started. And so, surprise, she got in.
So she got in. And so January of this year, 2024, so 1 year after she graduated high school, she moved to Florida, moved to Disney World, and spent the next 8 months working at Epcot in the Disney College Program. She...
And was supposed to only be there 5 months and then extended. So there's been a lot of like... We think she's coming home now. Oh, no, she's not. Yeah, lots of changes.
Lots of changes. And but she's our middle child. She's the kid that's just like, I always said she'd move away and come home with body covered in tattoos and piercings and dyed hair.
Yeah.
And she's kind of that way, getting there. The only thing that's stopping her is Disney has
they have some rules about what
a body dress code.
Yeah.
So she reapplied for School of the Arts and got in this year. So we moved her back home like August 10th from Florida, and she moved into School of the Arts like August 13th.
So we didn't even get to unpack all those boxes.
Yes.
We just took boxes from one place to another and let her take stuff out. It was very stressful.
Our house is still a wreck.
Yes.
And, well, because School of the Arts is the type of school it is, students come from all over the world to go to school there.
Yeah.
So there's really not a lot of students that live locally, especially 20 minutes away.
Yeah, because like her roommate's from Canada. And her friends are from Atlanta and Jersey and all over. Yeah.
So because she lives so local, that means she's home all the time, which is great. I mean, I like it that I get to see my daughter all the time, but she's always coming home getting stuff for props because she's a film school student.
Yes.
So she'll come home, oh, Dad, I need this, and this for a scene we're filming.
Or like the mugs she took that had to be crushed and broken. So it's not even like the props always get returned. We have to add that to it. Maybe like, I need 4 identical coffee mugs because I have to smash them in a scene. Yeah.
So now our house has become Universal Studios East.
Yeah, we're kind of like the prop staging area.
Because
like,
now they're not just coming to get props. Now the students have found out there's a house they can use.
Yes.
And so they show up at our house and film scenes in our living room, our dining room, our foyer, our porch.
But please don't leave out the best part. Okay, they have to come after class, and a lot of them have night classes. So they may not show up till like 8 p.m. And it usually starts with, hey, we're going to stop by for 20 minutes on a work night.
Yeah.
And then that turns into 2.5 hours.
So they have a project that they're filming for right now that they needed a dad for. Mm-hmm. And so not only did they want to use my house, they wanted to use me.
Yes.
And so I got to be the dad in this video.
And I'm so jealous and have so much FOMO.
I know you do. But you were not having FOMO the other night when I was up at 11:30 at night having to film with these kids and you were laying in bed sleeping.
I also would love to know what our neighbors do, because there was just lots of him yelling the same thing over and over and over again. Because even though I had earplugs, an eye mask, and the sound machine on, I kept hearing our door slam and you yelling. And I won't say what, because this whole film is kind of top secret. But like over and over the exact same thing. Our neighbors were probably like, what is happening?
There were some lights that came on in some windows. And what was funny is the house across the street, the one I complained about last week about already having Christmas decorations up, they had their Christmas lights on. So their whole house is lit up in red and green. So Maria was like, oh no, this is not going to work. So she went across the street and knocked on their door and was like, can you turn off your lights? Because I'm filming over here and it's not going to look good. And they were very gracious and they were like, oh, sure.
They were so sweet.
They were. But so see, even their Christmas lights are screwing up things in filming right now. So just wait. Okay, if they'd have waited till after Thanksgiving, we wouldn't have had that discussion. So that's our family news. It's just like these
chaos.
Kids. It's chaos constantly.
Yeah.
And there has to be a healthy distance when your kids go away to college.
Oh, and as an aside too, I just also forgot. And then poor Josh is here, and his cat gets out. So then Maria's like, "Go get the cat," and then her cat got out, and she's like, "Go get the cat." So Josh is out at like 10 at night in the rain, chasing our indoor cats that have escaped because the door is open. So, and also the laundry, like when your kids come home and they're always bringing the laundry.
Yeah, this is a whole another thing.
Yeah.
I just wanted to vent. I just wanted to rant that my home is my sanctuary. And as an introvert, I like that, to be able to come in, shut the door, and isolate myself. And I can't. Like, it's just like, and
I love the part. So, but for me, again, difference in personality, I feel so much more connected because now when she talks about all these people, I feel like I have to keep notes on my phone because she has all these friends whose names start with A. And I have to be wait a minute, is that the one from School of the Arts, or is that the friend from Disney, or is that the friend from Wilmington that starts with an A? And like now that I've met people, I can put like a face with it. I can know who they are. And so it's just, and it's really fascinating too to watch that process that they probably filmed for like 9 hours. And once they edit it, what will it be? 30 seconds?
30 seconds. It's going to be a 30-second film. And
that's 9 hours too that we saw.
Yeah.
Here.
I mean, I was there all Thursday night, and then they were here a huge chunk of the day yesterday.
And then they were here Wednesday too. Also,
yeah.
Wednesday was to scope it out. And that's just what we've seen. And so I guess that's the other thing for me, being like, I was a chemistry major, then went to law school. You've been in ministry. We aren't like in the film industry. And I think it's just like, not that I totally understand, but now I kind of get when people talk about how big the budget is and how long it takes, when we're like, why is this series not coming out for a year and a half? Well, now that I've seen how long it takes for them to get 30 seconds.
Because they were here with multiple lights, multiple camera angles, microphone, boom mic. It was a legit operation.
Yeah, it's not like here I am on my cell phone. Yeah. This is like legitimate.
I'm telling you, our house is now a movie studio.
Yes. And right now we have all these things. Like I walked by today and I'm like, what's all this? And it's like all these black rectangles or whatever. Mike's like, oh, that's like the batteries for, Ava's camera or something, so it's just stuff everywhere. Oh, and that also will lead to one other thing that is fabulous for me, though, everyone. A piece of good news. Maria is filming another thing tomorrow. This is one of hers. And she needs a Christmas tree decorated. So, because Mike loves his daughter, I won't say that I've won the full battle because I haven't. The battle is not won. But we will be decorating a tree today. Now, the problem is the tree has to be decorated and moved because she has to be able to slide it in and out of her scene. So this is...
we're not putting up a tree for decoration. We're putting up a tree for a prop. So for me, that's okay.
You tell yourself what you need to tell yourself because the tree is staying up. And
well, let me tell you something, Beth.
Yes.
I did so well in this movie. The director, she said, "Have you acted in things before?" And I was like, "No, never." And she said, "You're a natural." It's like... legit. She said that.
Do you know what this is? This is the equivalent of my student evaluations.
Yes.
So now you know how it feels to have some positive feedback. I think this also says a lot about Mike and me because we may be so starved for positive affirmation. Having teenagers that are turning into young adults has like beaten us down so much that we're just like starved for this one person to be like, oh, you're a natural. Here's a little compliment I'm going to dangle out in front of you.
And again, that's why we're doing a podcast. I said on episode 1, podcasts are very self-indulgent.
Yes.
Let us talk about our life, and we assume you're going to care. And so this is just our way of doing
Which,
that.
as an aside, Mike did make me in the car listen. We want to someone he listens to, and it's a man and his wife.
We could comment Dusty and Hannah Slay.
Except what I didn't understand, they were also just talking about sometimes nonsense, and so that made me feel like, because wait a minute, what they got no? Oh no, we listened to another podcast before, and they were talking about birds, and it was all information that I knew because
the
Jacob and
Bargatze
Josh.
Podcast,
yes, because they know so much about birds, so they were talking about like falcons and how fast they were and like dodo birds and birds that went extinct, and I was like, oh, I know all this because my kids have told me. But then they just talk about whatever. So I told Mike, just to get everybody's interest up, like an advertisement, I'm going to talk about my adventures at some point trying to plan and organize for our family, and all the different like Google calendars I tried, or now an iPad.
You just lost half our listeners. I don't know why you think that's like edgy. Stay tuned, cliffhanger. Beth has a planner.
Oh, well, you also wanted to talk about my house plants, so I don't know about that.
No, I was going to rant about your house plants, and that will come on another podcast.
They're beautiful, y'all. And
probably the podcast you're not going to be here for, but yeah, we'll.
It's just that it's like I'm becoming domestic. I turned 50 and like now I'm like super domestic, like growing plants, and I put I don't know what they are, dried stems or something in a vase and decorated. I went to Hobby Lobby.
It's called potpourri.
Yeah. No, it wasn't potpourri, but I'm just saying. But
we're going to wrap this up.
I'm practically like, I don't know, one of those, what do you call it? Those homestead people, you know, I don't know.
If you don't know the name, that's not you. You can't claim to be something if you don't even know the exact title.
My mom would be so proud. Mom, I'm decorating now. So domestic. Yeah. Just, it's amazing.
But speaking of being 50, again, this podcast was dreamt out of Beth's Big 12 that she's wanting to do, 12 unique things that she hasn't done before in over her 50 years, which inspired me, which one of the things I've always wanted to do is a podcast. Mm-hmm. But going into the acting thing, I haven't revealed any of my 12 other than this one. Another one of my 12 is I want to take an improv class. Like, I have that on my list. I've always been fascinated with improv too. And so that inspired me last night. Just that girl saying yesterday, it was like, hey, you're kind of a natural. I'm like, all right, maybe I'm not too far off base wanting to kind of do an improv class. And so I don't know if I'll do anything with it, but I do. It's another Big 12 for Mike. I'm going to do an improv class sometime over the next year. So if any of our listeners want to do the improv class with me, let me know. Maybe we can find one. But
are you going to pull a Michael Scott?
I am.
Are you constantly going to be like,
have a gun?
Yeah. A Michael Scott in the improv class?
Agent Michael Scarn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that could be our next dream. We'll make a whole movie like that, like a Michael Scarn. Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, I failed to mention this last week. The very first week, I talked about some friends of ours that donated some T-shirts. I called them pastor tees because I'm not smart. It's preacher tees. And so you can go back and check out the link. I put the link up on one of the podcasts on Spotify. You can go back there and check that out. But it's Preacher Tees. It's an Etsy shop. Very unique Christian T-shirts. I would say not your grandma's Christian tee. So check that out. Shauna and her group do an amazing job with that. So check out Preacher Tees on the Etsy shop and order some.
And vote Team Dog.
Yes.
Do it for Cam. He's regal.
See, the cat listeners could care less.
That's true.
All right.
The dog ones just want to win and be loved, be affirmed.
Well, hey, thanks for hanging in, guys. We will talk to you guys next week.
Time to go decorate my tree.
Bye-bye.
That one's long, probably. Oh, wow.